You're listening to World of Empowerment Radio, your station for practical spirituality in a changing world. And here are your hosts, Aingeal Rose and Ahonu.
Hi, I am Ahonu, and with me is my lovely Aingeal Rose. And Aingeal Rose is the author of a book called A Time of Change, which was written back in 2012, and she has revised it and rewritten it, especially for this time period that we're in. A lot of it is still very valid, but there's been huge, tumultuous changes, especially in 2020, that we need to address and talk about. And one in particular is where people have lost their jobs due to COVID-19. The economy has been declining and all kinds of things going on multiple levels. But we want to address just now the issue of prosperity and abundance and money. And I want to read to you the introduction to a chapter in that book, A Time of Change, called The Art of Prosperity. And when I read it, I'm going to ask Aingeal Rose to comment on it, just to give you an idea of where source is coming from when we talk about prosperity and abundance. In this section, we asked Source about money and prosperity. Source answers these questions at the level they're being asked, but ultimately let us know that manifesting is a game. It's like children playing until they know, understand, and trust that God's will for them is perfect happiness. At this point, the difference between perceiving a lack that needs to be filled is replaced with the knowing that everything has already been received. Ultimately, we are sustained by God's love, which is within us. We all have unconscious programs about money, some more convoluted than others. We've been brought up to define our self-value by money. What kind of patterns might we all have that keep our prosperity from us? And to let you know what happens in a lot of these sessions, she actually says a prayer in the beginning, and that gets her into the Akashic records of that space where she's able to download information really, and sometimes she sees the information and other times she feels it. But in this case, while saying the prayer, she says, I saw a beam of light blue light come down, and the first thing Source said to us is that true prosperity has to do with communication to and from Source. What we're all missing is the awareness of our direct communication with God. So Aingeal Rose, tell us what was going on, what was happening in your mind, what were you perceiving when we asked that question?
Well, it was what I was receiving, not perceiving.
What you were receiving. Yeah.
So from Source's point of view, it's all about being in the flow of love. Abundance and love are really the same things. And when it talks about true prosperity as being in communication with life, it does mean that it's the difference between when you feel like you're in the flow as opposed to when you're out of the flow. I mean, there's some times when people just experience synchronicities and you're in the flow.
Yes.
And you feel like you're one with everything, like everything that shows up for you in that synchronicity. It could be nature, it could be other people, it could be a book, but something makes you know that something else is aware of you and is answering your intentions or your thoughts.
And people can show and things can happen and events can take place. It's almost like it's out of your control, but it's meant to be. It's like
right.
That's what they call in the flow. When you're in the flow, it's like the world is working for you.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And Source is trying to affirm that basically says the intention out of Source's mind was for that to occur all the time. Be in the flow, be in where things are working for you. You're in your good.
Yes.
The only thing that can come to you is your good. And I think for us, it's a matter of being able to accept that. And that really does mean you truly have to believe that you're loved and that you deserve this at all times. Truly, we have God within us. This is the other thing. We literally have God energy in our very selves. And we were just reading something the other night, weren't we, Hannah? Mm-hmm. Scientifically, that was talking about the center of the cell being a little void.
That's right.
And it was like the void.
It was like the black hole is in the center of the cell, and it's the same black hole that's in the universe.
But that's what causes motion.
It manifests outwardly as motion.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, like that black void is the cause of the movement of life. And that's in us. So if you think of how many billions of cells we have in our body, think of all of the little black holes you've got in the center of your cell, which is 0 point energy.
Yes.
Okay. And we're not aware of that. And most of us can't even accept the fact that we could be that sacred, for example, and we could hold that type of power or intelligence. So
but another thought I'm sorry for cutting across you, but another thought just came to me right then. And that is that science, fantastic and all as it is, in my understanding, has always been teaching us to be afraid of black holes. It's like one big unknown.
Vacuum.
A vacuum. If you go into a black hole, you're doomed, like you're gone, you're sucked in. And whereas this thinking is that that's actually where God's source creator is. It's in the void, it's in the silence, it's in the perfection, it's in the nothingness, but the everythingness, because everything manifests out of that. And that's an interesting little difference in the perception. And that same black hole is in every single one of ourselves. So that's where the creation manifests out of.
So we literally are composed of God, and we have God within us. So when it says we're sustained by the love of God, what that means is the original intention coming from the mind of Source is for goodwill, happiness, prosperity. This is normal. When we're not in that, it's usually because we've got some sort of program beliefs, okay, or belief in karma, or belief that we're bad or we're not worthy. I've had occasions in my life where spiritual beings have come and reminded me, right, that I'm innocent when you don't think you are. So how do you get to that point? Well, you can meditate like some people do and reach that point of stillness within them. I think TM taught you that, didn't it?
Yes.
But there's other ways of doing it. You can journal about your beliefs, and a pen and paper is your best friend, because you could take any situation you're in and you could start to ask yourself what that situation means to you, because you do have an interpretation about all the events in your life. They result in the ideas you create about what you think reality is, what you think your world is. So you can undo your own beliefs just by writing about them. Because as you break them down, you start to dissolve the energy. What are you left with? You're left with a greater sense of communication with Source, or just a connection with life itself. And that's what this chapter goes a lot further, and we'll read a little bit more about it each day. Because Source does give us some exercises in how to create prosperity in our life. We mostly have to be willing to have the belief that we can reach that level of connection with life.
Yeah. Okay, we'll leave it there for the moment.
Continued.
We've got some gardeners coming around making a lot of noise, and we will continue, absolutely, and we will be referring back over time to A Time of Change, the book by Aingeal Rose, and we will put a link to it also where you can access it on Amazon. So we appreciate you being here, for listening to us. Thank you again from myself, Ahonu, and from Aingeal Rose.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
You have been listening to Aingeal Rose and Ahonu on World of Empowerment Radio, your station for practical spirituality in a changing world.